Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Is that comfortable for you sitting like that?
You know, it's an interesting position
Why
to
don't I
be
get
in.
you a pillow and we can prop you up like a little doll?
You know what? Like, I've never lied down while I've done the podcast.
Danielle is sitting in a lounger, a
chaise.
a deep chaise.
Yes, with a dog-like pillow.
Yes, that's a good point, actually. That's Junk, my
I
old
was
dog.
gonna
He
say,
passed
is
away,
this
and
where
that's
he is
his pillow.
now?
Has he been stuffed?
No,
Has he been stuffed?
he's in the closet. His ashes are in the closet with Tammy's. So I can snort them one weekend.
R.I.P. to both of them.
I'm Casey Wilson.
I'm Danielle
Chelsea
Schneider.
Handler.
Chelsea
We're all
Handler.
here. Chelsea, you are our first guest in a little series we are now calling to make fun of people who call things this In Conversation With.
Bitch Sesh in conversation with.
In conversation.
It's a very
with
special episode.
Conmigo.
Yes. Ooh, wow.
Chelsea, you have written a book, another book, a new book.
Yes, it's
A
so-
real book.
It is.
It is.
And I've read all of your books. I've read and seen everything. Every time you've been captured on cinema, I have, on a celluloid, I have seen it or read it.
It's so good. It's called Life Will Be the Death of Me and You Too.
Life will be the death of me. And you too.
And You Too.
Yeah.
And you too.
And it was so good. I tore through it in 24 hours.
Thank you for reading it.
It's so funny, obviously. You're one of those people where, of course, you're going to be funny, but you really took kind of a turn into you waded into different waters, as I may say, in terms of kind of excavating, and you got into self-help and the journey that you've been on since Trump was elected.
My midlife crisis.
Yes.
It intersected beautifully with Trump's election.
Well, I was so upset when Trump got elected, and it was just like I had such outrage. I had so much anger, and it was all like boiling to the surface. The way he looks, mostly nothing about his behavior, just his physical personality. And I went to go see. I had this guy on my show, on my Netflix show, the psychiatrist, like interviewing him about adolescent brain development and how much pot I could smoke before I was brain dead. And then when I off camera, I was like, you know what? If I ever go to a psychiatrist and really try to like unpack my issues, which I didn't think I had any of or had, I said I'd go to that guy. And then I went and I started seeing him, and I was like, you know, I literally spent my first 3 sessions just bitching about Trump and complaining. And I was like, and then finally he let me do it. And then finally I was like, okay, I'm ready to get real. And it took me until I was like 42 to start to get real, which I'm kind of embarrassed about, but better late than never, right?
Yeah, don't be embarrassed. So many people don't even ever do it.
Yeah.
And obviously, yes, you need to have the money, but you also need to be ready, I think, because it's heavy. And you're someone you're so successful. And I love you say in the book that you come from a place of anger, you discovered, as that's where I come from as well. But what else did you discover kind of from there?
Well, I discovered that I was really upset about, you know, like my brother died when I was 9, and I thought, oh, I don't ever have to talk about that. I can intellectualize that and understand that that doesn't, you know, of course that's an issue, but like it's not really an issue. Kind of that mentality, like a little bit of arrogance, well, a lot. And so, you know, I had been to therapists before, but I was never really really ready to get real. Like I was never ready to be like, okay, this is it. Let's, you know, and cry and be vulnerable. And I've never been vulnerable in my life. And, you know, every time, you know, you think like you go through adulthood. I went through adulthood like splashing around and just, you know, crazy, right? You know, chasing after this dream I had, which was all just like too fast. Everything was moving so fast, and cash this check and go on tour and write a book and do my show. And okay, yeah, they want me. Okay, I'll do this. And without ever really sitting and thinking about what I was doing or what my idea for my life was or what I wanted or what kind of pain I was in. And so it is very cliche, but it's fucking a cliche because it's true. It's like everyone's a cliche. We're all cliches. So the fact that my 9-year-old like brain has never mentally or emotionally developed to be like able to be in a really healthy relationship because the last guy that told me that he loved me died. I was stuck as like a 9-year-old emotionally. And I needed a professional to tell me that for me to like unlock it and go, oh, fuck, you're right.
Well, he did say, I mean, the way that you talked about in the book, how like you
Are
just
we allowed
started.
to say fuck?
Yes.
Yeah, you can say
This is a
whatever you want.
podcast. There's just Wild
There's
West.
no rules, no regulations.
Nobody cares.
You can buy a baby on this podcast. It's like the dark web.
I have
No.
a baby in my closet.
Oh, good. But you said that like the minute your brother died, you just started riding your bike and didn't stop moving
Yes.
basically since then. And that is you still, like, even if you're not like physically moving, perpetually in motion so that you didn't
I'm
have
sorry,
to.
Casey's watching a podcast
I'm
right now.
so sorry. This
She's
American
listening to
Life
a
came
podcast
on
while
and
we're on a podcast.
they have a great This American Life. Excuse me.
Sorry, she's just been
So sorry. Iris at it again. No, I'm so sorry. My phone went off. Go on.
with a podcast. So strange.
And while we're discussing your brother's passing,
Well, my brother died, and then This
excuse
American Life.
me. Serial
handle
part
it.
3 just came out. Go on.
But just the
Apologies.
perpetual motion that you have been taking since then, and this is the first time you sort of just sat with it, which
Yeah.
is kind of incredible to think about, that you've never sat still for a moment to
Right.
deal with it.
And to assess and to be like, okay, what's my identity related to being a celebrity, to being successful, and like, what is that all that I am? Answer was yeah, that's a lot of who you are, and you're tied to it. And in like I mean, it may not be unhealthy or healthy, but like my behavior alone seems unhealthy now. At the time, I was like, oh, this is great. I'm killing it. I'm doing everything. But I wasn't like, I was constantly exhausted, constantly struggling, like angry, tired, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
what am I doing with myself?
But it's natural how it starts because you did have a dream and you achieved it, but then you were achieving at such a level, you probably were just getting tired. And then you're in a weird place when you feel that kind of anger all the time. And it's almost turns inward on yourself because you're like, but this is what I said I wanted. And this is what,
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you always feel like someone who needed to have like drama going on or just needed to have things to be doing?
I just like to keep in motion. It was just motion. Like motion would keep me away from sitting alone with myself. And it's,
Yeah.
so obvious in so many ways, but you really need, sometimes when you're paying somebody to tell you what's wrong with you, you listen more
Oh, yeah.
rather than, I don't want to sit with a friend and bore them about my problems. And I also felt like going to therapy was like navel gazing, and narcissistic. Like I have a show, everything's about me in my life. Like everyone in my life is about me. It's all like, I'm the epicenter of this. So
Well,
many.
your assistant told me he just wants to be here for him.
My assistant wants us to be together for 45 years. He told me the other day when Ellen I needed to get a blurb for my book from Ellen, and he's like, Chelsea, do you know that Ellen and her assistant, what's his name? Craig? She goes, have been together for 35 years or 45 years. He goes, that's what I want for us.
That's so nice. He's such
No
a
one
nice
has
person.
ever said that.
Brandon is like my husband.
No one has
nice.
ever said that to me, including my husband. I want to be
That's
with you
really
for
nice.
45
I know, and
years.
he's gay, so it's like perfect because he is kind of my husband. Like I don't
He
have
has a
to-
nice energy.
Yeah.
He's like, he's not trying to,
right
I don't know.
to control me.
Yeah.
He is
No.
slowly trying to insert himself into my brain, but I welcome that.
One thing we were talking about that I love in the book was the difference. You said that there was kind of pointed out that you are a very sympathetic person, but what did you kind of discover about empathy that you go into in the book?
Well, I discovered that I have a lack of empathy. So like sympathy and empathy, like I didn't realize, like I never put myself in somebody else's shoes, but I like if you're hurt or you're a stranger and like anything, I would help anybody. But I never thought about what it was like to be that person.
To be in my size 10 J. Crews.
Right. Have two babies, not know who the father is.
Yep.
And, yeah.
Oh, thank you. I don't.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
no, because I always considered myself very sympathetic, but I didn't really look at the difference between sympathy and empathy. Just because you give of yourself and you can be like, I feel for that person, I'm going to help them, it doesn't mean you're actually taking them into consideration. It's more about you
Yes,
than it
it's
is about
being
them.
a fixer. Like, so I talk a lot in the book about this thing called the Enneagram, which my psychiatrist
yes.
turned me on to, which is basically like a number, and you assess yourself and you find out. And he's like, let's go through the Enneagram. There's like 9 numbers. And I found out I was a number 8. And that was like a good guiding force for me. Cause like, then I could pinpoint what I'm lacking, like what I need to work on, like what my growth needs to be. And, with sitting down and spending that time, I mean, not everybody has the luxury to like sit down and,
Right.
with a therapist.
Mhm.
So I know that I'm, but to take the time and to actually like try to fix myself before I try and like help anybody do anything, to try and like repair my own injury that I never really like addressed, was really heavy and so cathartic to be able to write about it. Like, I didn't want to write another book. Like, I felt like I had just been, tossed around and done so much and not even thought about it. I was doing stand up, and I was like, not even just dying to get off the stage, so tired all the time. And I'm like, what kind of operation am I running?
Yeah, and that's not how we start. You start being, I just want to make people laugh, and I would kill to be able to do that. And then it must just feel badly to be like, here I am doing it, but I'm not enjoying it.
Yeah, and then you're paying, people are paying tons of money to see you, and they're like,
yeah, I paid a lot of money to see you.
Yeah, you can have your money back.
Thank you.
It's on the table, actually.
Wait, I would like to ask about, you talk about the number 8. What in this Enneagram, and I encourage people to go online and do a test. I just did one. The guy won't stop emailing me now.
And you're a 1, 3, and
I'm a 1, 3, and a 2. And before I even told you what number I am,
I like how she does that order: 1, 3, 2. It's like
when we were talking about the Enneagram before we came in, you go, okay, as long as you're not a 1, I think everything's fine. And I was like, I'm a 1.
No, there are no bad numbers.
I'm so sad.
I'm a 3W2. I'm a 3.
A 3 with a wing of a 2.
Yeah.
Oh. What is an 8? Can you tell us?
An
what
8 is like a fixer. Like, I go in, I want to I take care of a situation. If anyone's in trouble, I'll take care of it. But I am not considering. I just want to fix, I show up to show up, not to actually think about what that person's going through, which was what I needed to learn to oh no, you're actually going through a hard time. I need to think about what it's like for them. I was just showing up to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to be the best friend that anybody ever had. And so it was more about
You said
optics.
Another famous person shares your
Donald Trump is an
number.
8. That's what they say.
That's what they say.
I think Oprah Winfrey and Hitler are mine, which is a 3.
Well,
Just
Hitler
a need for achievement.
Hitler did some very wonderful things. We just haven't heard about them yet.
And we don't focus on them enough. I feel
No,
like.
my grandmother was German, and she's like, Hitler was a good man.
Oh, no.
He was so misunderstood. I'm
What?
like,
And how does you reconcile that with the Jewish side of you?
we didn't. We killed her. She's dead now.
Oh God,
She was my Nazi grandmother, and she's with God now, or she's in hell.
Oh God, no. The number 1, the 1 is the reformer. It says realistic and principled, which really means a doormat. And all of mine were literally like, tell me, as I'm fine as long as you tell me you're proud of me. Which is
That's
the
sort of
saddest
sad.
thing
Yeah.
ever.
But everybody wants somebody to say they're proud of you.
But mine's just like, that's number 1 for me. It's like, I don't care what I've done. Just tell me before I've
just
even
say
started
you need it.
that
Yeah,
you're proud
right,
of me.
right.
So I'd like everyone to do that before we leave today. if
Great.
possible.
We will.
Okay. Would you want to do that in the shower?
Please, while crying, of course.
Please.
That's where I do my best work.
Now, we're in your bedroom, and I just have to say, I'm also very taken with your home, and I know that's a departure from what we're discussing, but maybe the charmer in me is now wanting to just take a look around your home. Is very beautiful.
You can take a look, please. I mean, I love sharing my home with people. It's my house with a little. My house will go on for a lot longer than I probably will. So I want to make sure we break it in.
We break it in.
So it can live gloriously forever.
Now, where do you feel? Where are you now? Because you're not doing your Netflix show anymore. Are you going to do any more? Like, kind of, where did you come to? Of like, I want to stop doing that.
Well, I did. I'm doing I just shot a documentary for Netflix. On white privilege, actually. So after Trump got elected, I basically just had a meltdown, like I just couldn't take it. And it was acting like a spoiled brat. Like I couldn't believe the world would go wrong, when adults were supposed to be in charge of politics and I could go ahead living like my great life and, and I couldn't function. I really had to and it just triggered everything, I think, from my childhood, from being unhinged. It represented to me what it was like after my brother died, after my whole family kind of fell apart. My dad was gone. The minute my brother died, he just never recovered.
Well, you say the adults kind of left the room. Not that they were ever in the room, but your brother was sort of the adult in the room. And then the adults left the room. And here, all of a sudden, the adults have left the room again.
Yeah. And it was really hard. It's really hard to to leave something when you have there's currency in being on TV all the time. There's relevancy, and it's really fucking hard to I mean, it's not that hard, obviously, because I can support myself financially and I don't want to act like this is such a struggle. But emotionally, it was like, what are my ties to this? Like, I have an unnatural relationship with my success. And what else do I have?
Well, that's your identity in a way. That's what you'd put all your energy towards.
Right. So I really wanted to just kind of just step back and say, what am I doing with myself? Like, really, what am I going to contribute? And, for me, it was all about the midterms, and I wanted to get out there and like campaign for people and do anything I could for anyone who thought I would be of help. And I just wanted to. I didn't want to be sitting on my soapbox commenting on it. I wanted to be at in this country, and I traveled across the country, and I spoke to college kids, and I campaigned for people, and I felt like I was doing something impactful for, one of the first times in my life. Like, that really mattered, and if we hadn't won the midterms, I would have killed myself. So
yeah, that's clear.
Thankfully, everybody who chipped in, we got this great outcome, and look at these badass women that are in Congress.
Yeah, but you are the fixer, and I feel like you kind of put it to work in a different way, in a way that was more kind of self-sustaining for yourself, but also was great.
Thank you.
To kind of get out
there. Well,
there.
That's nice. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I'm not going to say this to Danielle, but I'm proud of you.
And Danielle, I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Well, that matters more.
Anybody for me?
Who's proud of you?
Yeah, our
Brett?
engineer,
Exactly.
Casey,
Nobody.
do something today we can be proud of.
Guys, there's nothing happening today that anyone's going to be proud of. I'll tell you right off. Wow. Okay, so then what did you make your documentary about? Your documentary.
I did. So I wrote. So okay. So I wasn't. Well, with Netflix, they're very cool. They would just kind of like you just discuss what you want to do next
but
with
they said,
them.
but please do something.
Well, they were like, I said I would. I really need to like I said I want to, and then I was going to do a document. I love doing that because it's kind of fish out of water stuff, and I was. I like to be uncomfortable, and I figured the race issue is obviously the biggest issue in this country.
Yeah.
And why Trump was elected and all of that. So I just wanted to explore that. And so I didn't realize like how much I benefited from being white, until I really had time to like assess everything, how much I benefited from like my bad behavior being rewarded in this town, being like, talking about drinking and partying and sleeping with guys and getting paychecks for that.
Yeah.
And looking
and I think
around.
as white women too, we're in a weird pocket because it's like, oh, we're not the white man, the bad white man. And then you kind of dig into it deeper and you're like, oh, we are possibly more of a problem in terms of we think we're benefiting from being white, but also getting to tell ourselves we're oppressed in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, there's a lot of like, I think luckily we're not white males because those are out of style. Not, you know what I mean? It's a wrap on anyone over 50. That's
Sorry,
white.
Brett.
Yeah, sorry, Brett. Well, you're not over 50, so you have
Time's
a few
up,
more
Brett.
years.
Brett's 62, actually.
What? You look terrific.
He told me
Yeah.
that
The white
before you
males
guys
have gone
got
out
here.
with like a boot cut jean. Like nobody's doing that.
Bootcut jeans fucking suck anyway, so I'm glad they're out of style.
Yeah.
I fucking hate boot
I
cuts. It's like I don't have the waist for a boot cut.
Nobody does.
And I don't have the butt.
Nobody does.
And I don't have the boots. Sorry, everyone. So sorry. Go on, Chelsea.
I think I'm still drunk from last night. I got in at around 2 a.m. and then I had to work out this morning and I literally like fell on a weight. So obviously I'm still a little bit off kilter.
You're still you.
Yeah.
The end of
You're
it.
doing just fine.
Not to make a bit of a departure from that, but I read an article. Is this true that you are on a quest to find a strain of weed that women can smoke and not eat?
Yes, I'm
Because of all your work, that to me is the most important contribution.
I'm coming out with my own weed line.
Oh my God, I'm so
How
excited.
does one come up with
Do you
your
have
own
tests?
weed line?
Anything we could take?
Yeah, in my yes,
You
in
can
my,
take
look
something
in my
with?
closet in my fridge. When you guys go out, I'll give you tons of goodie bags. It's not out yet, but
Okay.
I signed. Finally, I did
will
all
be a
my.
tester.
I did all my research. Oh, maybe you could be
'Cause
on
no
the
one-
advisory board.
No one eats more than me, please.
Really?
When I smoke weed.
Oh yeah, it's THCV is what you want. That's what what kills your appetite. I have a pen in there. I'm gonna give it to you, and and it kills your appetite. You take a hit of it, and you honestly do not want to eat.
Chelsea, you are doing the world a service.
Yeah.
Okay?
I
Talk
know.
about empathizing. Now you're empathizing.
Now I'm thinking, well, it's all selfish because I.
And
just
how
don't
did
wanna
you
eat.
go about like finding this
does one
strain?
get
How does
into
one
that
get
business?
involved in the biz?
Well, I mean, I really had like, once it was legalized, I started using cannabis all the time, and it just like cut my drinking in half. And I'm like, well, wait a second. And after you're 40, like the bloat and you can't just drink. Like,
you can't.
you can't.
You can't.
It just doesn't work out the same way.
No, it's
And
so
I can't-
sad.
yeah.
When you
A
mix
glass
it with
of
my
wine.
mood stabilizers, you don't
Right.
feel great the next day.
No, you don't.
The
And-
cocktail that I'm
And
on.
you said this quote, which truly made me laugh in the book. You said, "Alcohol and outrage don't mix well. It's a hat on a hat." And that really made me laugh. I thought that was a
Exactly.
great line.
And I had like, so for me, I've always been a drinker, but when I started like taking edibles with microdosing and just like taking the edge off of like, sanding down the edges, like being able to tolerate, like everything is more tolerable when you're a little bit stoned.
Oh, for
like
sure.
people are less annoying. You can go through I can find joy in like the simplest things if
Like
I'm
us
a little
being
stoned.
here.
Yes, I'm finding this to be like very joyful.
Well, and speaking of taking the edge
And I
off,
haven't even taken an edible
you
yet.
really? Maybe
No,
it's
'cause I
just
still-
us.
You're just
I'm
looking
still drunk,
forward
so I'm
to
just waiting. I'm just pacing myself. Maybe on the way to the airport, I'll take an edible.
Speaking of just taking the edge off, your ayahuasca journey is something that we're curious about too.
Yeah.
In that what you found there was different than what you thought you were going to
Yeah,
find.
well, with ayahuasca, it was like a real, it was one of those experience. Well, it wasn't one of those. It was an experience where you feel like completely overwhelmed with love for someone, like, and people who have children feel it towards them or their husband.
I'm glad
And
to hear that. I always thought it was kind of like you're going to go through a ring of hell of your life and emotions.
some people do,
I'm sure that would
but
be
that did
me.
not happen to me.
That's great.
Mine was very positive. Some people have like mental breakdowns and it's hardcore, but I think if you're anybody who's on any sort of medication, Casey, I don't know what the protocol is. Like, I don't think you're supposed to do that, or you have to get off the
I'll
medication.
push through that.
'Cause push through.
You're a
But-
stronger woman than.
But I like drugs. Like I like
do too.
hallucinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like mushrooms. I love.
You know
all
what
that
I want to
stuff.
try? A girlfriend of mine did that study where you're there with a psychiatrist, kind of that Michael Pollan thing where you go on this amount of psychedelic, but it's run by a therapist is sitting there with you. And it's only
Yes.
like 20 minutes.
Ketamine? Is it the
I
K?
think
Yes,
so.
it's ketamine. My friend just did that. Ketamine.
Isn't that a horse tranquilizer?
Yeah.
Wow.
But they give you they give it to you because it unlocks like all the stuff in your psyche, and the thing with ayahuasca and the thing I hear about ketamine, I've never done ketamine, but I would, is that you see yourself outside of yourself. So you're
Yes.
not in it, like your own, you're able to look at, like with ayahuasca, I saw myself as a little girl, like running along the beach with my sister. And I was like 5 and she was 10.
Aw.
And we were like playing, Kadima on the beach. And then we were in the kayaks, and all of those memories were true, but I had never, I hadn't thought about them. And there was a dog from my childhood that I forgot. I was like, what? Oh, that's Muttley. Like everything
Oh,
was
boy.
real, but it's stuff that you just hadn't thought about in years. And I was
Wow.
so overcome. Like I felt so much love towards my sister. And I, of course, never told her about that experience. And
Maybe
I
she listens to
Did
this.
she listen to this?
well,
Probably
she saw
not.
the documentary, so she knows. And she was like, "Oh my God, that's why you've been so different lately." I couldn't say I was sorry. I was just going to
No, we
adjust.
would never say
no, I
sorry.
would never apologize for anything.
No. Wow, that makes me cry. That's so beautiful because your relationship is such a whole with everyone, but we're always so into like the last thing that happened to us with someone. But that's really beautiful, actually.
Thank you.
Wow.
You speaking of repairing and stuff, you talk about in the book how one of the things you wanted to work on with this not therapist, but psychiatrist was how when someone hurt you in the past, it would just be like, okay, well, that bridge is burnt. Like, I'll
Yes.
never talk to them
Scorched
again.
earth.
Scorched earth. And do you think the work with the psychiatrist has that changed?
Yes, for sure. Because before I had this thing like, okay, I'm like, I go to bat for people. I'm your friend for, whatever. If you fucking piss me off and you don't return the favor, then you're out.
Like it's conditional.
And
I think it's because I've heard you're so generous. So in a way, you're giving so much that then one slight almost feels like, but look how much I've given you.
Right.
You're done.
And it's not like what I give has nothing to do with what somebody else is capable of giving. But in my mind, before I saw my therapist, I thought it was commensurate. Like I thought, oh, well, you have to give this. People aren't capable of doing that. Like I can't do that because I'm expecting the return. I have to just do it. If I want to do it, I have to do it out of the goodness of my heart, not to be like, oh, well, then you owe me a favor. It's not like that. I mean, it is disappointing, especially in this town, when you do nice things for other people and then they don't return the favor. That is disappointing. But my issue was more about, I didn't know how to end relationships because the only way that I knew from my brother dying was it was black and white. It was over or it was on. And so once he like kind of elucidated that to me, my psychiatrist, once he was like, I want to learn how to forgive people. And he's like, you don't know how to forgive because the only way you know is on or off. Like that's how you say goodbye to somebody. They're dead and they're gone forever. And so I have a little bit of a lack of sentimentality with regard to some friendships, that don't like, like my best friend Mary's like, you never think about that person. Like, and I'm like, no, never. And she goes, Chelsea, that's weird. Like,
Well, it's protective because that's how you dealt with your brother's death, is like not thinking about him.
Yeah. Don't talk about it. Don't think about it. Don't voice it. And then it's gone. And
Have
then
you
it becomes real.
any friendships that maybe ended?
Yeah, a couple. But I mean, like I don't. There are, yes,
It's hard,
a couple,
yeah.
but I have, I have a lot of friendships that have ended, over the years.
Like ours.
Yes. And that I don't have any real desire to revisit. But there were a couple that I realized like, oh, I should go back to that person because their feelings were so hurt probably. And they don't even understand why I stopped talking to them. So a couple people I have rekindled with, which has been nice. But I don't want to like, rekindle with them.
Yeah,
Well, it doesn't mean everybody you're supposed to still be friends with too. Just
It's like
because
moving
you've had
forward.
It's about moving forward
Yeah.
and like, and my future relationships and like how not to behave that way again. You know what I mean? Not to scorch earth or cut somebody off because they did one thing that I don't like. People fucking make mistakes. And that's what forgiveness is for.
And also you can end a friendship without it ending in like never talking again. You can be like,
phase out.
phase out or just like, this is not a healthy friendship anymore.
I'm the same way, and I've always thought it's because I'm a Scorpio or I have Italian anger. But if someone crosses me, I'm like, we're done here. And I think it's. I always kind of come back around on people, but it's admirable that you're kind of looking into it. I will apologize sometimes later. It just sometimes like friendships have to sit with you over time, but I have nothing
think
I'm
that's
offering
normal
here.
though. Like I think it's normal and it's like healthy to like the biggest thing that I learned from going to him is identifying your behavior,
Yeah.
Like I get like, oh, you're doing this, like, when you get a text that you don't like or an email from an agent or whatever, and you're like, my instinct is to go, hey, you fucking idiot.
Yes.
Fucking fix this. But now I'm like, nothing matters really. Like, don't respond in the minute. It doesn't matter.
That is the biggest thing I've learned with anger is to take one beat because I'm already texting. Rage is flooding my brain. It's like white hot rage. It's like, do you know how much I pay you? Like things are coming forth that are so nasty. Things I'll say to people that if I even take 20 minutes with it, it will just be a different.
Right.
Well, mine comes from fear. It's so funny because we are all reacting within our thing because also in your book, it talks about like we're all basically born with this wound, which is like literally coming out of the birth canal. We either come from a place of fear or anger or sadness.
Yeah.
And that was shocking to me because I so enter with fear. Like when you're in a stressful place.
You don't seem fearful the way you're lying out.
I know. I am sort of like posed on a chaise lounge
that you've made your own.
I really am sort of a Cleopatra.
Chelsea and I are sitting up like it's an interview.
I'm literally eating grapes being fed to me by Brett. It's lovely. No, I'm so fearful, guys. No, but it that to me really struck a chord because I was like, oh my God, in a stressful situation, what is your first emotion? Fear, sadness, anger. Yeah. And I immediately was like, Casey's anger. And then I was immediately like,
right.
I come from fear. So that email, when you get that email that pisses you off immediately, my first instinct is fear. Like, what did I do wrong?
Right.
How can I get this better? How can I apologize to this person? Even if it's not my fault, like that is my first instinct. So, and you were saying you knew immediately, you're like, anger.
Yeah. I've always been angry. I'm pissed. And it's like, why am I so pissed off? So for somebody to tell you, okay, this is a normal feeling or, and to like assess the situation, you're like, sometimes you're just in the right place at the right time to hear the news about yourself.
Yes.
And also, I'm a little bit, I've come from a place of being in analysis for like 17 years. Like not everything's going to get fixed. It's also
not if you've been in analysis for 17 years, it doesn't sound like
you know what, guys, we're getting to a breakthrough.
It's a journey. It's not a short journey.
Any minute now.
Around the corner is a breakthrough. But I do feel like at certain points, certain things are going to change. But even knowing why you do something, you're not going to do it different. But no, sometimes it is helpful, even that. And I've had to let go of some ideas of like, I'm almost 40, so a lot's not going to change, perhaps. But I can deal with it.
It is taking that beat beforehand, before the fear, before the anger, before the sadness, before
and just
you
go,
respond.
my heart is beating fast right now. Like, stop yourself. Like, I've never in my life contemplated not reacting to something in the moment. In my life,
too.
I've made a career out of it. So for me to sit down and be like, he's like, have you ever thought about not inserting yourself myself every time there's an opportunity to speak. And I'm like, no, I've never contemplated that. What are you talking
What does
about?
that feel like?
He's like,
I
I'm
was
not
like, I've
finished.
heard about people doing that, but I'm not interested in pursuing it.
That's not a lifestyle I'd like to
No,
adopt.
no.
I've heard about it in stories.
Chelsea,
In short stories,
in poems.
essays.
Your mom is such a wonderful, I mean, not character in the book. Obviously, she's your mom, but
Character in your life.
yeah, what you wrote about her, it did remind me of my mom a bit. When you said my mom did the same thing every morning after waking up, she would take a nap. It made me laugh so much. My mom was like never not napping in like a Coca-Cola haze. It's strange to always see your mom like in a nightgown when your friends come over.
Oh, schmata. Yeah, my mom was in a fucking full-on schmata, tits down to like her
Yeah, me
knees. I was like, I
too.
wore a bra since I was born because I was like, I do not want to look
Well, when
like
you
that.
said in your book that you slept in a bra, I was shocked by that.
I
was
sleep in a
it's
bra every night.
Wow.
It's uncomfortable if I don't have a bra on.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So, I mean, and by the way, it works because
Yeah.
my boobs are just the best thing about my body. They are
great. I
they're
look fantastic
upright.
from where
Getting
I'm
my eyes
standing.
on you here, and
Yeah.
you're curvy but trim. It just sounds like my grandma.
Trim
got a
is a
nice
very
figure.
old
You
word.
got a nice figure. You cut.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's something my grandma would say. She has a lovely
You're
figure.
very moist and trim.
My dad, I think I told you on your show, he always says I have a sensational figure. And your dad comments on your body a lot.
Yeah,
too.
we have similar dads.
Yeah.
We've talked about that before.
Ooh.
My dad used to comment on my body too a little bit, where I'd be like, "Dad, stop it!" And he would always tell me to put my hair down. Which was upsetting.
You don't want them putting
I just
the
didn't
male
want-
gaze on their daughter.
Yeah, my dad was like that too. Very flirtatious with me. Like he thought I was cute and like, look at that body and like that. I was like, oh,
So rough.
fuck. Yeah.
So rough.
But I really love your mom and the way that kind of she comes off and how you kind of explain your guys' differences is so interesting. Like, and how she said, only assholes make assholes.
It takes an asshole to make an
Yes,
asshole.
yeah.
And that's why your father is your father.
That was a sobering comment.
Yeah, my mom was really sweet and she was really like, she was German, but she wasn't like stereotypical German. She wasn't harsh at all. She was very like soft spoken. She had a German accent and she was like very kind of elegant and like ladylike. And so we were opposites because, you know, obviously I don't have elegance, but she was very much like she couldn't believe the things I would say and I couldn't believe that she wouldn't say them. I was like, how can you not stick up for yourself? What's wrong with you? Like I was her, you know, I just was so frustrated by her inability to like have an equal, like even footing with my father because my dad controlled everything. And, you know, it was a different time, but still I just was disappointed in her, you know, lack of oomph. And, you know, it takes a long time to realize that's not who she is. That's who you are. That's not your mother. Like, it's not my sister. My sister wants to live in New Jersey and suburbia and hang out with other housewives like you guys. You
All the
know,
time.
like
In the valley,
she
yeah.
wants to do that. And why that doesn't make,
Why did that anger you
someone.
so much?
Like, I couldn't believe she wanted such a small life. Why don't you want something bigger? Like, why don't you want more for yourself? And she's like, she's just happy.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't need it. I need it. So stop like placing your like you know, beliefs and projecting on other people. Like it's not about
Because sometimes it's easier for me to feel like, well, other people are unhappy. They must be unhappy if they're living X,
Yeah.
Y, not what I'm doing. And then it's a bit of a bummer almost when you realize, oh, they're happy. It's like, then what am I doing running
Right.
around trying to...
but we all have to fill our own holes, so to speak.
We
So
sure
to
do,
speak.
Chelsea. We sure do.
You said it best. And I'm sorry I'm glancing off and seeing a familiar sight on my own night table, which is NyQuil. Just kept right there.
ZQL, depending on what night it is.
Because we never know, is it a Z-Quil or a
A
NyQuil?
NyQuil with a ZQuil chaser, perhaps?
Perhaps anything's possible in this house. You never know.
Now, I want to go on a limb and say, through this book, I really felt like, and maybe, I don't know if I'm overstepping, but the work that you're doing, I felt like you are bringing in more of your mom. That's what it feels like.
Yeah,
a bit
there's
of
a
this
lot more. My
journey.
mom was very like, you know, she was sweet and she would never, you know, she wanted to help people and do nice things. So yes, I mean, I'm much more like my father than I am like my mother, but my mom was like very generous of spirit. Like she really would like my best friend from high school, Robin said, your mom was the first person that told me she loved me. And this was like after my mom died and I went, what? And she's like, yeah, she told me she loved me when I was like 11. I'm like, your parents never told you they loved you? And she said, no, they've never said it to this day. And my mom knew it. Like she could tell, and she made sure that like Robin knew that she was lovable, and that was so my mom, like so sweet, you know. And again, you think your situation is like, it takes us a long time to look outside of our own lane. Like I just because my parents told me they loved me, I assumed everybody's parents told them they loved them. You know, you take these things for granted, and so she was sweet.
And I have a question. Are you someone that when you perceive weakness in someone, did it make you angry?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Why?
Because I just don't like weakness. Like my brother died, my father fell apart. I saw my dad cry for the first time, and it was repulsive to me. I was like, whoa.
I find it repulsive when I see people take drinks out of water bottles on the street. I'm like, you're so fucking weak. You need water.
Yeah.
Just
I agree with that.
But it's gross.
But this is coming from a person. Casey does not drink water.
By the way, I fucking hate water too. I can only drink sparkling water, and I have to put flavors in it.
I know. There's just something about it of like, who do you think you are?
A human being who needs it.
It's too many other options out there to be drinking water.
But watching people stop in an airport and take care of themselves is so disgusting.
I get what you mean about like.
What about room temperature water on an airplane when they fucking hand that to you? And you're like, hey, I don't want this Dasani bullshit, okay? Room temperature water can go fuck itself.
Hands you. Get the fuck out of here,
I'm like, hey, bitch.
Hands me with white glove service.
Get that fucking hot towel out of here,
room temperature water.
Moving away from the book for a little, where are you now? Are you dating anyone, may we ask?
No, I'm ready to date, though. I haven't had a boyfriend in a long time.
And do you feel you're coming at it with a new vibe just because of the work you've done on yourself?
Yeah, like I'm ready now to be in an adult relationship. I don't want to behave like a child. I don't want to ever check a guy's phone. Like, I don't want to be jealous. I want to be a mature person. And I had to really go through this, I think, to accept that and understand my behavior wasn't, you know, I haven't been in a ton of long-term relationships, but I've been in enough where I wasn't really proud of the way I behaved. You know, either I was disgusted and annoyed immediately by, you know, everybody because I want to reject them before they reject me, or I pick somebody who's completely emotionally unavailable and then scream and cry and yell until they pay attention. And you're like, okay, you're throwing a tantrum right now. What is your problem? So I haven't been in a relationship in a couple of years. The last relationship I had really kind of like knocked me down. And then after that, I just had casual, you know, like guys around in different parts of the world that I would meet up with and
Different
keep it
parts.
casual.
Wow.
Different ports. Yeah.
I like that image of you just like coming from the sea.
Well, like, you know, you have a guy. Well, no, I guess you know. What am I talking about? It's totally unrelatable what I'm saying. But yes, there are
like, you know, a guy on this yacht, a guy
in Spain, and a guy in Whistler, and a guy that I can ski with, and a guy I can do this with, and you know. But no, now I'm ready to be like, okay, I'm open to it. I don't need it, but I would like it. And if I get it, great. And if I don't, that's fine too.
Yeah.
But I feel very fortunate in my life. And I have, you know, I have a really great like time, and I like that about it. So it would have to be something that was really like an additive to my life, not a takeaway. And somebody who skis, by the way, if there are straight men listening.
Oh, there's not.
Okay. Never mind.
What are your kind of like ranked, would you say, priorities of your life now? How are you kind of ranking things out?
Priorities, well, family, you know, is really important to me. And like that's become, you know, our last year we had a rough year in our family, my cousins and my dad and all this stuff. And it was kind of a reminder of how important it is to show up and be there for your family, even when it's boring, you know, like a reminder, like.
I didn't think you were going to end that with boring.
To hang out. Like, it's not about everything being awesome.
Yeah.
It's about just being there and being like part of a family. And so that has been a great, like, you know, I've always been very close to my family, but this last year I realized like, okay, this is what it's about. Like I care about these people and my friends, but priorities, you know, I like working. I wrote this book and I feel like it's the first real book I've written. I know I've written a bunch and I don't want to like, you know, say that they sucked. They didn't, but they were silly and funny.
No, they were fun.
But
hilarious.
This is like the first time I enjoyed the process where I wasn't writing for a paycheck. I was writing to write. And then, you know what I mean?
What must that feel like?
Yeah, I never did that in my life. I never had like the integrity of a project be raised because I was always doing 18 things at one time instead of doing one thing really well or two things really well. I was doing 8 things like half-assing it.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy I wrote this, and I know that like, and I'm proud of it. I'm like, it's the first time in a long time where I'm like, I'm really sitting in the moment instead of it. You know, I'm doing this 20 city book tour where I'm not doing stand up. I don't do stand up anymore, but I'm having different people interview me in different cities.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
You're like,
Where are
it's been booked.
No, I would
we
love
need
for
someone
you
for
to.
Iowa.
Yeah, Des Moines.
You need someone for the Valley.
We
'cause,
can only fly you coach. Is that cool?
Middle seat.
I'll be
middle
in
seat.
first.
Danielle and I,
We
when
fly a lot
everywhere,
together.
I fly first and she
And
flies
I-
coach, and that just says everything about us. She could
Really?
fly first. She refuses.
You refuse?
I refuse.
She prefers to be by the bathroom in the middle
Good
seat.
for you.
I refuse just because, like,
I'm an animal.
no, I just am like, it's the money I could save. I could put, I just know the things I could put it towards.
And
I
I'm getting
guess.
emails from my business manager like, slow down. And I'm like, I will upgrade.
Oh, no, I can't.
I've just come around to upgrading to more legroom. And that's a big, that's
Do
a
you have
growth.
children?
I have one child. I have a 5-year-old child.
Uh-huh.
And she's,
And what kind of friend would be just like fine with their friend back there? I'm always like, hey girl, I'll have
she drops
someone
me
bring
some
you-
That's her
magazines.
problem
It's
that
my,
she doesn't
it's my
want to
I'll
choice.
come back
first.
and hand her a magazine.
But that's nice of you.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's not your problem she doesn't want to fly first.
No,
you should fly first if you want to fly first, and you should fly coach if you want to fly
And
coach.
I have no problem with
So I
it. It's
guess-
only hard if, like, sometimes like a listener
A
will
fan
come and
will see us
walk
both.
past us, and they'll be like, Casey, and then they're like, and Danielle.
Yeah, you're like the plus one.
Yes.
Like the sidekick.
But
Like
I was
Chewy.
like,
I
you're like a
chose this.
Chewy.
Yes.
Our listener will be like, hey Casey, hey Danielle, and then sit next to me in first. It's also hard.
Yes.
That's happened. Okay, Chelsea. So I have a couple more questions for you, which is, where are you kind of going to go from here?
That's a great question. I mean, I have.
I know it's an obvious one, but
I don't know. I don't have a real plan. I just
of course your weed line.
my weed
What's
line.
it called?
Well, I can't say the name
Okay,
yet because we have to get it trademarked. So I
FDA
don't want to
approved.
fuck that up. So
Mhm.
somebody steals it right before I say.
Mhm.
But I want to, I just want to spend more time. Like, I don't want to work as much as hardcore. Like, I want to work, but I don't want to be on a spin cycle. I
Mhm.
want to enjoy my life, to take the time to like do things that are impactful. The documentary I did for Netflix and this book are
What's
two.
that called?
I think it's going to be called Hello Privilege. It's me, Chelsea.
I love it. And I was sorry, I didn't mean to gloss over that subject because I
Don't worry about
think
it.
it's
You don't have to-
wonderful.
I mean, it's probably not going to come out for a few months anyway. So, but I don't know. I've never planned. Like, that's my thing. I've never had a strategy, which is why I'm always just running around in circles. I'd like to have one. I'd like to say, oh, I'll do this year. I've laid the foundation, I think, for, I worked really hard for a really long time. So luckily I don't have to work like that again.
But do you, in your heart, actually like when you're slowing down? It's one thing to kind of say intellectually, like, I just don't want to do a million things. I want to slow down. But then I always have a hard time actually doing that.
Yeah.
Like it feeling comfortable.
Like I say, I took the year off, but I took the year off and I wrote a book and I filmed a
Yeah, I was gonna
documentary and I
say-
started.
That's
a
what I
production
meant,
company,
yeah,
and we have
yeah.
like 4 shows in development. So like, yes, for me, that's not what I'm accustomed to. I'm used to this
That's a
pace
slower
of
pace.
being in a structure and being at work from 9 to whatever. 9 to 10, and I usually like to work between 1 to 2 hours per day.
Gotta slow down from that pace, Charles.
Yeah.
So, but I do. Yes, it's tricky because there's identity issues, where you get insecure and you're like, oh, what if and you compare yourself to other people who are doing better than you, or
Look, we're not doing that much better. It's just
no, I mean, I can tell by your equipment that things aren't going great, but I like, you don't want to play that compare game. Like
Mhm.
you have to that's an inside job. And so
Yeah.
anytime I feel that way, I kind of sit with it and I'm like, you need to get yourself out of this mess. Don't look to something to make you feel better. You need to intellectually stop comparing yourself to a million people. It's like you're in your own, this is your lane and you're in charge of your happiness. And ultimately, I just want to like be happy. I want to have a good time and not be impatient and not be short and not lose my temper and just have fun with life. And so that's my goal.
In terms of you saying be in charge of your happiness, may I read a little bit from the last
Please,
page of your book,
please.
the only page I read?
Would you record the audiobook, please?
I already have. Thank you.
She's taking it upon
I have
herself.
47 voice memos that I did on my phone. I really love the end. It sort of made me cry. You said, your voice has meaning. Find something you care about that has nothing to do with you and learn about it. Pay attention when you're tired. Read more, watch less TV. Danielle and I won't be able to do that. Find new people to teach you life lessons and be proactive. Know that you have something of value that is unlike what anyone else has. And then I loved the end. You said, go after happiness like it is the only thing you can take with you when you die. Stand up for yourself. Treat yourself the way you treat the person you love most in the world. Get on your own team. Wake up, take a nap, laugh, cry, rinse, repeat.
That's good.
Makes me cry.
That My eyes are watering.
And you
Such a
bringing
good
in your
reading of
mom on
that.
Take a Nap. It's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
It really is. I loved the book.
Me too.
Chelsea, we have one little game
Yeah, we just want to do a
You
little.
want me to take
that
my
our
clothes off?
producers put
Yes,
together.
always.
Okay.
Just
The pants
for
or the
us
top?
both, please.
Our producers
That's
do
us.
this together. That's us.
Yeah,
You don't
let's
have
do
any
it.
producers.
Oh, I thought somebody else was
No.
here.
No,
It's just us.
we know him not well. So we know you don't care for the Housewives, but we know you are kind of rabid anti-Trumper. So we thought we would share some quotes, and you could tell us, are they quotes from Donald Trump or Housewives?
Great.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, here's the first one. Ready? It's an everyday situation. You know what I mean? 365 days a year.
Housewives.
Correct.
Okay, we got more money, we got more brains, we got better houses, apartments, we got nicer boats. We're smarter than they are, and they say the elite.
Trump.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. My hair is iconic, and don't you fucking forget it.
Housewives.
Right.
I've had enough of you, you beast.
Housewives.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, you're doing pretty well.
I need
For
loyalty.
someone who's never seen an episode of The Housewives, I'd
Yeah.
like to say that I think I'm fucking killing it.
Seems you know them in and
Yeah,
out.
you know them better than you know yourself. I need loyalty. I expect loyalty.
Trump.
You're not important enough to hate. Sit down.
Trump.
Lisa Vanderpump.
I know that name.
Okay, my whole life has been heat. I like heat in a certain way.
Trump.
Yes. Let me tell you something about my family. We're thick as thieves, and we protect each other to the end.
Housewives.
That's
Trump.
Right. Housewives.
Housewives, you're right.
Oh.
I have tremendous respect for women.
Trump.
Sometimes you have to toot your own horn because nobody else is going to do it.
Housewives.
Trump.
Fuck.
Like
You know what I declared victory too early, and then it shot me in
And
the
then it
foot.
really
Yes.
messed
you did
you up.
pretty well, but they're
Real
very
nice.
similar, as we know.
Yeah. Gosh, anything else that you want to share with our gay men and wonderful women listeners?
Your tour, perhaps?
Oh yeah, you can buy
Yeah.
tickets to my tour. We just added 5 shows. LiveNation.com. I'm coming to 20 cities, 21. And yeah, Chelsea Handler's sit down comedy tour
Wow.
because I'm so fucking sick of standing.
I was gonna say, I like.
Now, are the
Is
people
that a Chase
interviewing
Lounge
you? Did
like
they
me?
get to sit in first class?
Yes.
Okay, that's nice.
It depends. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to do, I have certain celebrities coming in different, like people that are from certain areas of the country. And then other places we're doing, local like news people or like
Local business owner, small business owner.
Yes, a small business owner. I love to have those people interview me.
They'll be funny.
I'm coming to Clearwater, Florida, so I think that's important to mention.
As a
Is Tom
person
Cruise
from
emailing you?
Florida,
So the whole Scientology community will
Tom
be
Cruise
there.
is email you. Yes.
John
interviewing
Travolta's
you.
interviewing.
John Travolta's gonna ride his plane right up to you, right up to the.
I'm like,
They're
how did
gonna
Clearwater get on?
Drag Shelley Miscavige out in
Oh,
handcuffs.
God. Poor
Where is
Shelley
Shelley?
Miscavige.
Poor Shelley. Thank you so much,
And
Chelsea.
you guys, your book is out very soon in April.
Yeah, April 9th. You can pre-order it before that, like March 9th. So that'll probably be now.
Life will be the death of me. ... And you too.
You too. Can I have some of that weed? Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank,
Thank
you,
you.
Chelsea.
Thank you, guys.
It's a great book.
Thank you.
Our interview with Chelsea is the first in our series of bonus sessions this year. If you're interested in hearing more, subscribe to our bonus sessions at StitcherPremium.com, where you'll get tons of other content as well, not just our podcast. But if you subscribe, you'll receive 17 bonus sessions along the course of the year. We're interviewing various and lovely and interesting people, some connected to Housewives, some not, just deep dives into people and topics that we're interested in. We're so excited about them. So this is our interview with Chelsea. We are pretentiously calling this series In Conversation With. Thanks so much. We hope you enjoyed the episode.